The first time I saw him, he was leaning against the alley wall, reading a book. His sharp, chiseled face was expressionless. He glanced at me, said nothing, and went back to his reading. My heart skipped a beat. I forced myself to stay calm as I walked past him. He definitely didn't know me, but I knew him. He was practically a legend at our school. Just last week, he was called up by the principal to give a speech, only to be publicly reprimanded immediately after for leading a gang fight. Teachers were constantly stressed out over him. I guess he was a straight-A delinquent. The second time I saw him, he was in the alley again, this time beating someone up. Well, technically, he wasn't even touching anyone. His guys were doing all the work for him. There were two gangs. His side. Absolute beasts. They didn't even need him to lift a finger. His presence alone had the other guys getting pummeled to the ground. Then once the last man was barely holding on, he finally moved. He walked up, kicked their leader to the ground, and said in a bored tone, "Next time you see me, take a different route." Then he turned his head and locked eyes with me, still completely expressionless. I stood there frozen thinking, shit, why is the school bully changing battlegrounds? Isn't he always fighting in that alley near campus? Today's alley is my only way home. If I don't go through here, I'll have to take a 20-minute detour. Awkwardly, I forced a smile. As if understanding my struggle, they all paused their brawl to let me pass. I tiptoed my way across, stealing a glance as I reached the other side. Yep, they were back at it. Honestly, the other gang had some serious willpower. They were practically half dead, yet still refused to surrender. The third time I saw him, he was alone in the alley. I peeked inside. Further down, another fight. Great. So now they've just permanently moved their duels here. Without a second thought, I turned and ran. And as I sprinted off, I cursed under my breath. Damn it. Bad luck. Guess I'm adding 20 extra minutes to my walk home every day from now on. I had barely taken 2 steps when a lazy voice called out from behind me. "Hey, Luna Everly." I froze on the spot. Oh no, the school bully knows my name. I turned around stiffly, forcing a very awkward smile. For the first time, he wasn't completely expressionless. His brows knitted together slightly, looking a little irritated. "Stop. Can't you see someone needs to pass?" Then, as casually as one might swat away a fly, he kicked one of the guys from the opposing gang. The poor dude, who had been mid-fight, fully engaged in the battle, was so shocked by the unexpected attack that he just froze in confusion. Silence. The whole alley fell dead silent. Wait a second. Is it just me, or is this school bully actually kinda polite? I mean, look at that. At least he has the basic decency to pause a gang fight just so a girl can walk through safely. After a brief internal debate, I decided to take my chances, because, honestly, that extra 20-minute detour sounded exhausting. So I walked past them, and as I did, I politely said, "Thanks. You're a really nice guy." The air turned weird. Their expressions were strange. No, actually, why do they all look constipated? "Hello. I was complimenting your boss. Why do you all look like you just swallowed a whole lemon?" So I kept taking the same route home every day, and as expected, I kept running into the school bully. Most of the time he was alone. Sometimes he was leading a full-on gang fight. His name was Jace Hawthorne, but people at school called him Jayhawk, a name that carried weight. It was almost 11 p.m. and I had just finished tidying up my books when I realized I was starving. Since my parents were always busy with work and frequently traveling, I was often left home alone. Sometimes I was just too lazy to cook dinner. I grabbed a t-shirt, threw it on, and headed out to grab some late-night snacks. At the convenience store, I picked up a loaf of bread and a bottle of milk, ripped open the package, and started eating right away. That's when I noticed something. Across the street, at the outdoor seating area of a barbecue joint, sat a group of very familiar faces. Why did I recognize all of them? Because that's Jace and his crew. They looked like they were wrapping up. The table littered with empty beer bottles, a few guys loudly arguing, while others were hunched over their phones, gaming away. And then there was Jace, the exception. Because this guy was doing homework. He was doing homework. Jace didn't seem like he had been drinking. His face looked completely normal, still wearing that signature calm and indifferent expression as he scribbled down answers at lightning speed. Among all the rowdy idiots at the table, he stood out like a beacon of intelligence. So, this is what it means to be an academically gifted school bully, huh? Everyone else was out here relaxing and this guy was grinding. Are you serious? Bro, we're supposed to be eating barbecue and you're out here making me feel bad about my life choices? I had never in my entire life felt this motivated to study. If even Jace Hawthorne is working this hard, then what excuse do I have? I inhaled the rest of my bread and milk, feeling reinvigorated. Tonight I was going to study until 1 a.m. I had barely stepped out of the convenience store when Jace's little minions spotted me. And then they started losing their minds. Jayhawk, look, it's the goody two-shoes. Across the street. Over there. Great. Love the enthusiasm, guys, but maybe don't scream it so loudly next time. Jace finally looked up from his homework, his gaze settling on me. I saw him say something, but I couldn't hear it over his rowdy crew. Judging by his lip movements, he was calling my name. So, being the incredibly obedient person I was, I crossed the street and walked toward them. I had to go that way to get home anyway, so might as well, right? Jace frowned, his sharp gaze sweeping over me from head to toe before he spoke, his voice a little hoarse. What's a girl doing outside this late, dressed like that? Didn't expect the school bully to double as a concerned citizen. I awkwardly rubbed my nose and muttered, I just came out to grab some food. My eyes drifted to the table, landing on his open notebook. His handwriting was as bold and effortless as he was, large, fluid, but still neat. I found myself genuinely impressed. Wow, Jace, you're really dedicated. Jace followed my gaze to his homework, then without a word, snapped the notebook shut. And then, he stood up. I flinched, suddenly aware of how tall he was. I barely reached his chest. Not because I was short, obviously not. It's just that bullies are supposed to be tall, okay? Before I could react, he took off his jacket and draped it over my shoulders, still frowning. Wear this. I'll walk you home. At this point, I had come to a realization. Jace only has two expressions. One, completely blank. Two, annoyed frown. He walked me home in silence. His jacket smelled nice, a faint scent that I couldn't quite place but I found pleasant. When we reached my house, I tried to return his jacket. But Jace just frowned again and said, It's dirty. Wash it and give it back later. Excuse me? How is it dirty? I'm 90% sure this guy is scamming me. But when I looked up and met his dark, piercing eyes, I gave up arguing. Fine. I'll wash it and return it next time. Emichung. I bolted upstairs, jacket in hand. When I got inside, I instinctively ran to my window. Jace was still standing there, illuminated by the dim glow of the streetlights. Hyoked. Really good. Too good. And then, as if he sensed my gaze, he looked up and waved at me. I panicked for a second before awkwardly raising my hand and waving back. I swear I saw him smile. My heart skipped a beat. What the hell? Did I just develop a crush on the school bully? Does that smile? That freaking smile. Who the hell was supposed to survive that? In the end, I didn't study at all. Turns out I don't have the unyielding discipline of a school bully. I knocked out by midnight. The next morning, I tossed his jacket into the laundry pile and called out to my mom, asking her to wash it with the rest of the clothes. Even though, honestly, it looked perfectly clean. But hey, Jace has a cleanliness obsession, so whatever. I figured I'd bring it back to him tomorrow and left for school with my backpack slung over my shoulder. And what do you know? The first thing I saw upon arriving at school was Jace Hawthorne standing at the entrance. A bunch of girls were stealing glances at him, because sure, he was a school bully but a ridiculously good-looking one. I strode toward the gates and as I walked past him, politely nodded. Good morning, Jace. He turned his head and looked at me. I took that as a response. I flashed him a polite smile, basked in the mixture of shocked and envious stares around me, and continued forward. And then, I couldn't move. Jace had grabbed my backpack strap and yanked it backward. With his ridiculous strength, I stumbled back a couple of steps, nearly losing my balance. And just like that, we locked eyes. His gaze was steady and indifferent, sharp and focused. Meanwhile, I completely zoned out and started thinking, damn, his eyes are really nice. Wait, his eyelashes are ridiculously long. Are they longer than mine? Why does a guy have such unfairly long eyelashes? Hey. His voice was clear and cool, snapping me back to reality. Where's my jacket? I froze. Seriously? You're that eager to get it back? Dude, I got home at 11:30 p.m. last night. Did you expect me to stay up late and wash it by hand just for you? What am I? A peasant? I forced out a sheepish laugh, eyes darting away guiltily. So funny story. I was really tired last night and I kind of forgot. The grip on my backpack strap tightened. I panicked and quickly added, tomorrow. I promise I'll bring it tomorrow. I held his gaze with the most sincere expression possible for 5 whole seconds. And then, something weird happened. Jace's expression didn't change. But, was he blushing? No way. Wait, his ears are red too. Was he that mad? After a long pause, he finally let go of my backpack, looked away, cleared his throat and said, still sounding calm as ever, tomorrow at noon. I'll be playing basketball on the field. Bring it to me then. I stared at his red ears. I kinda wanted to laugh, but I obediently nodded. Okay. And then, out of nowhere, he added, bring me a bottle of water too. Excuse me? What is this? Interest on late returns. I return your jacket one day late and now I owe you a beverage too. Suddenly, his red ears weren't cute anymore. But fine. It's just a bottle of water. I'll endure it. I gritted my teeth and nodded. Only then did Jace seem satisfied. He finally let me go. And because he apparently had zero sense of personal space, he reached out, ruffled my hair and said in a tone that sounded oddly pleased, go on. I'm sorry, but you're literally treating me like a dog right now. Wait, no, I am not a dog. My seat was by the window. And well, during class it was inevitable that I'd get a little distracted. My gaze drifted outside to the hallway which led to the field. And for some reason, I suddenly thought of Jace. I shook my head quickly, forcing myself to snap back to reality. But the moment I turned my head back, I locked eyes with the teacher on the podium. 2 seconds of eye contact. The corners of the teacher's lips twitched slightly, and I suddenly had a very bad feeling. And sure enough, Luna Everly, stand up and answer my question just now. What question? I have questions. I slowly stood up, head lowered, not daring to say a word. My grades were average, not great, not terrible, and I had always been seen as a good student. I had never been caught daydreaming in class before. The teacher let out a cold chuckle. What's so fascinating about the view outside? Must be really amazing if it's worth ignoring my lesson. I didn't dare to answer. And then, from somewhere in the classroom, a soft but very distinct voice whispered, "There's a hot guy outside." The classroom fell silent for half a second. And then, every single student turned their heads toward the window in perfect unison. And then, they all started laughing. I tilted my head slightly. And sure enough, there was a group of guys outside led by Jace. They were drenched in sweat, probably from PE class. Why out of all the days did I have to get caught daydreaming today? And why out of all people did he have to see it? I'm going to die of secondhand embarrassment. I could feel the entire class shifting their attention back to me, and my face started to heat up. Luckily, Jace and his group seemed to be just passing by. Jace glanced at me, and then they kept walking. They never passed by our classroom. Why today of all days? The class was still in chaos, and the teacher slammed the desk hard, frowning. What's with all the noise? Does this classroom have no discipline? And then, he turned to me again. Luna Everly, focus in class next time. No more zoning out, got it? I nodded obediently. The teacher sighed, waving a hand dismissively. All right, sit down. I collapsed back into my seat, feeling like I just barely survived. On the way home, Zoe Wilder was practically dragging me along to watch her confess to her crush. I sighed. Why do I have to go with you? You know I'll feel super awkward, right? She clung to my arm, whining. Come on, please. You can just hide somewhere when the time comes, okay? Pretty please. I rolled my eyes. Fine. Let's go. Zoe picked a nice confession spot, a small park not too far from school. From a distance, I could already spot a tall figure standing under the streetlight. Zoe got super nervous, gripping my hand so tightly that I thought she might cut off my circulation. I sighed, gently pushing her forward. Go. Don't keep him waiting. I'll be right here. Finally, she let go of my hand and walked toward him, fidgeting nervously. The guy turned around, revealing a clean-cut, delicate face, the type of boy most girls would like. But not really my type, a bit too soft for my taste. For some reason, Jace's indifferent face flashed through my mind. I mean, he does fit the type of guy I usually like, right? I like guys with good-looking eyes. Eyes are the windows to the soul. And Jace's were deep and dark, impossible to read. What am I thinking? As if a school tyrant like him is someone I should be fantasizing about. I snapped out of my thoughts, glancing at the guy again. And then it hit me. I've seen him before. But not in person. I saw his photo on the school confession page online. But, right. Zoe has good taste. From what I've heard, his name is Adrian Ashford. Gentle personality. Polite to everyone. But still keeps a certain distance. And paired with that soft, handsome face, it's no wonder so many girls go crazy for him. I stood there for a while, legs starting to get sore. Just as I was about to turn and find a bench, a cool, familiar voice came from behind me. What are you doing? I nearly jumped out of my skin. Spinning around in shock, I instinctively took 2 steps back. And then, there he was. Jace Hawthorne. 5 words. Destiny works in mysterious ways. Why does it feel like we've been running into each other way too much lately? Before he switched his fight locations, we had never crossed paths. Well, he had never noticed me, but I had definitely noticed him. Is this just a coincidence? His gaze moved past me, settling on Zoe and Adrian in the middle of their confession scene. He raised a brow, then shifted his gaze back to me. Are you spying on someone's confession? Excuse me, I am not. I am openly watching. I was just about to protest, but he beat me to it. You like him? Adrian Ashford. What? What in the actual? I stared at him in horror. I do not. I don't even know him. Oh. He looked completely unfazed. Then what are you doing here? I'm waiting for my friend. He just stared at me silently. So naturally I stared right back. And suddenly I remembered. This morning, in class, when he caught me getting called out by the teacher. And suddenly, this entire situation felt 10 times more awkward. Thankfully, Zoe finished up her confession and returned at that moment. The moment she saw Jace, she froze up, clearly terrified, but still forced herself to come over and grab my arm. Una, what's going on? I opened my mouth to answer, but Jace beat me to it again. Nothing. Just ran into each other. Then he turned and walked away. Zoe and I watched his back fade into the distance, and then I finally turned to her. Lowering my voice, I asked, "So, how'd it go? Did he say yes?" She snapped back to reality and immediately looked dejected. Ugh, don't even mention it. He rejected me. And then with a dreamy sigh. But he was so polite about it. I couldn't help but laugh. So, what now? Are you gonna keep trying? Zoe shrugged. Dunno. I'll see how it goes. But enough about me. What's going on with you and Jayhawk? I started walking. Nothing. Probably just a coincidence that he was here. She caught up, squeezing into my personal space with a sly grin. Hey, I've only ever heard of his reputation before, but wow, he's seriously hot in person. Never got a clear look at him during his speech on the podium. I rolled my eyes. Alright. Tone it down, will you? That guy could knock you flat with one punch. Her smile froze. Hawk wouldn't hit a girl, right? I shrugged. Who knows? School tyrants aren't exactly known for being predictable. Zoe sighed. I really don't get it. How is he a school tyrant and still manages to stay in the top 5 of our entire grade? I suddenly remembered him at the barbecue restaurant, working on his assignments while his gang played around. I couldn't help but chuckle. Probably because even when he fights, he never forgets to do his homework. At the intersection, Zoe and I parted ways. I had barely been walking alone for a few minutes when I suddenly felt it. Someone was following me. Light, steady footsteps. Hit. Not too fast, not too slow. I felt a little uneasy and instinctively tightened my grip on my backpack straps, quickening my pace. The footsteps behind me sped up too. My heart started pounding. Taking a deep breath, I suddenly spun around. Eyes shut tight, I yelled at the top of my lungs. Who are you? Why are you following me? My palms were damp with sweat and my fingers trembled slightly. For several long seconds there was no response. Just as I was about to freak out even more, a soft chuckle broke the silence. A voice I found oddly familiar. I slowly opened my eyes, and there he was, Jace Hawthorne. Seeing me finally looking at him, he smiled even wider, until he couldn't hold back anymore and actually laughed. His shoulders shook with amusement. Was it really that funny? When I finally snapped out of my initial panic, I felt a little embarrassed and annoyed. Why were you following me? That was seriously scary. Jace stopped laughing and gave me an innocent look. I wasn't. I made plans to fight here. I see. So this alley is officially your scheduled fight club location now? Great. Just great. I was so done. I turned on my heel and stormed off. Fast. When I reached the entrance of the alley, I glanced inside. And sure enough, 2 groups of guys were already lined up, waiting. I heard Jace's footsteps behind me. For some reason, I hesitated for just a second. And turned back. Big mistake. Because I ended up crashing straight into his chest. Thud. Rock hard. What the hell? Was that his abs? His warm breath brushed against the top of my head. I panicked and stepped back immediately, gripping the edge of his jacket as I looked up at him. His eyes were as dark as ever, impossible to read. Hey, I said softly. He tilted his head slightly like he was listening. You shouldn't fight so much, I blurted out. I had no idea where my courage came from, but I kept going. It's bad for your health. You'll get suspended if the school finds out. You're at the top of the class. What if you get expelled? It'll affect your college applications. I said it all in one breath. And before he could react, I ignored the stunned looks from both fighting groups. And ran. Fast. I didn't stop until I got home. Slamming the door shut, I finally pressed a hand against my chest. My heart was racing. What the hell was that? Who did I think I was, lecturing a school tyrant? We've only met a few times. And I already had the audacity to tell him how to live his life. He's not gonna listen, right? Right? What if he thinks I'm being nosy? If a random person suddenly told me to change my habits, I'd probably think they were overstepping too. Damn it. Regret. I rolled onto the sofa, hugging a pillow and grumbling into it. Why did I even say anything? He's probably fighting right now. Forget it. Forget him. I need to focus on something else. Yes. Homework. Homework will keep me sane. Homework will make me forget. I yanked out my assignments, sprawled out on my desk, and started writing like my life depended on it. Sure enough, after a while, I completely forgot about everything else. Finished with my homework, I glanced at my phone. 10:30 p.m. I yawned, ate a cup of instant noodles and then went to shower. While reading afterward, I suddenly felt like I had forgotten something. Jayhawk's jacket. I rushed to the balcony and sure enough, his oversized jacket was still hanging there, swaying gently in the night breeze. I took it down, checked if it was completely dry, then neatly folded it and stuffed it into my backpack. Otherwise, knowing myself, I'd 100% forget it again tomorrow. Then staring at my backpack, I fell into deep thought. I really overstepped today, didn't I? Wouldn't it be super awkward delivering his jacket back tomorrow? Life is unpredictable, just like a Taiwanese night market snack. One moment you're a sausage, the next you're wrapped inside another sausage. The next day at noon, Zoe excitedly dragged me to watch the basketball game. Remembering the jacket in my bag, I took it out and went along with her. Zoe stared at the obviously oversized jacket with wide eyes, silently questioning me at least 800 times. I sighed. It's Jayhawk's. Oh my god, when did you two get together? Zoe practically shrieked, completely unable to contain herself. I immediately clamped a hand over her mouth, frowning. Keep your voice down. You're practically announcing it to the whole school. Then lowering my voice, I explained. He just walked me home, then said I got his jacket dirty and made me wash it before returning it. That's all. Zoe, however, grinned mischievously and leaned in. Luna, you just don't get it, do you? This is called creating a reason to meet again. Jayhawk definitely has feelings for you. I saw it yesterday. The way he looked at you, his eyes were literally sparkling. Me, yeah, okay. Maybe schedule an eye exam? Sparkling? His eyes are literally just deep pitch-black pools. On the way, I stopped by the convenience store to grab a bottle of water before heading to the basketball court with Zoe. The game had already started, but it wasn't Jace's team playing yet. However, I did spot a familiar figure, Adrian Ashford. Zoe, along with a whole crowd of screaming girls, was cheering so loudly my eardrums practically suffered permanent damage. I subconsciously scanned the waiting area looking for Jace. Didn't see him, but I did see his group of friends waving excitedly at me. I hesitated for 2 seconds before finally walking over. The moment I opened my mouth, they immediately started yelling over each other. Looking for Jayhawk, huh? Sister-in-law, he went to the restroom. Just wait here, he'll be back soon. Excuse me? What did they just call me? Sister-in-law? How the hell did my status suddenly jump to this level? I caught their curious gazes, and one particularly cheerful-looking guy stepped forward with a big, goofy grin. Sister-in-law, no need to be shy. Jayhawk is our big bro, so that makes you our sister-in-law. I was speechless. Excuse me? I've only seen Jayhawk a handful of times. How did I suddenly get promoted to this status? And more importantly, do they not fear for their lives? Isn't their so-called big bro going to beat them up for saying this nonsense? Under their overly enthusiastic stares, I forced an awkward smile. No, we've only met a few times. We're not that close. Just call me Luna. They all exchanged knowing looks, and just when I thought they finally got it, someone spoke up with a mischievous grin. I get it. He hasn't locked it down yet. Got it, boys. Jayhawk is still in the chasing phase. The others immediately nodded in understanding, looking like they had just uncovered some grand truth. What? Are they seriously gossiping about their own boss like this? Does Jayhawk even know they talk about him behind his back? Also, am I really the only one who doesn't see that he likes me? Because I feel like these guys all need an urgent eye exam. I cleared my throat and tried again. No, really. Jayhawk doesn't like me. We're maybe just friends. Someone immediately shouted, no way. Jayhawk wouldn't be this much of a coward. He hasn't even confessed yet. The moment my eyes landed on him, the guy shut up instantly. Because Jace was back. He walked up behind the guy, smiling in a way that was not so friendly. What's so funny? Let me in on the joke. And nothing, huh? Jayhawk, Luna brought your jacket. The guy nervously scratched his head, clearly desperate to change the subject. Jace's face returned to its usual blank expression. Luna. The guy's smile stiffened. No, Jayhawk, you misheard. I said Luna Everly. The awkward tension in the air was suffocating. I decided to put them out of their misery and stepped forward, holding out his jacket and the bottle of water. Here, this is for you. I kept my head down, too embarrassed to meet his eyes, but then I heard him click his tongue. Hey. He suddenly bent down a little so we were at eye level. I looked up and, damn. His dark eyes were as deep and unreadable as ever, but for some reason they seemed to shimmer under the sun. They were so captivating that I couldn't look away. I actually listened to you yesterday, he said, his voice casual, almost teasing. I didn't fight, and they mocked me for it. So, he continued, lips quirking up ever so slightly. After the game, bring me some water, okay? Luna. This guy. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was glowing. Literally glowing. And that little expectant expression, like he was waiting for me to praise him, was just too much. My hand trembled as I took back the bottle of water. Fine. I'll bring it to you later. You should go now, your game is starting. I need to go find my friend. I basically fled the scene. My heart was hammering like crazy. Did I just blush? No, he definitely didn't notice, right? Damn it. His stupidly good-looking face was dangerous. I was doomed. I had completely fallen for my school's notorious delinquent. I clutched the water bottle and returned to Zoe's side. By now, Adrian's game had ended and Zoe was still standing there looking a little dejected. I raised a brow. Why didn't you go give him water? She let out a long sigh. I tried, but the moment the game ended, a whole group of girls swarmed him. I was completely stuck in the crowd. And guess what? He just smiled politely and rejected everyone. He already brought his own water. I barely held back my laughter, coughing lightly. Oh wow, he really came prepared. Don't worry, don't give up yet. He didn't accept anyone's water, which means the competition is still fair. I'm rooting for you. Go get him. She sighed again but then quickly perked up, nudging me playfully. And what about you and Jayhawk? Any progress? I laughed helplessly. Progress? What progress? There's nothing between us. Here, I held up the water bottle for her to see. I'm just giving him some water after the game. Oh, Zoe dragged out the syllable with a teasing smirk. Feeling a little embarrassed, I leaned closer and whispered, actually, I kind of want to chase him. Zoe's eyes widened. Wait, who? Jayhawk. I nodded hesitantly, feeling a little nervous. You think I have a chance? Zoe shut her gaping mouth, then suddenly grinned and patted my shoulder. Luna, don't worry. You'll definitely get him. Why does she sound more confident than I am? He's a school delinquent, I muttered. He doesn't seem easy to chase. A delinquent? Please, Zoe scoffed. I've been in 2 relationships and Jayhawk hasn't even had one. You've got a better shot than you think. Besides, I've seen the way he looks at you. He totally has a thing for you. I was doubtful. No way. He looks like he has plenty of experience, okay? Zoe clicked her tongue. That's where you're wrong. I went to middle school with him. He's always had a ton of admirers, but he's never liked any of them. His standards are crazy high. Word is, he wants someone gorgeous with long legs, a big chest, and a personality that matches his. I immediately cut her off. Hey, hold on. Are you really trying to encourage me? Because based on that description, I don't stand a chance. Zoe waved her hand dismissively. Luna, have a little confidence in yourself. Your face alone is enough to get you through the first round. And who knows? Maybe Jayhawk likes your type. Thanks. Before I could respond, sudden ear-piercing screams filled the air. I frowned and turned to the court. Jace's team was finally stepping onto the court. He wore a red jersey, his expression as unreadable as ever, but his striking looks completely overshadowed his school delinquent title. Zoe grabbed my arm, practically vibrating with excitement. Oh Luna, it's Jayhawk. He looks so good, OMG. I shot her a deadpan look. Didn't you just say the exact same thing about Adrian earlier? Even though I was teasing her, my own heart skipped a beat as I watched Jace on the court. Maybe it was some strange sixth sense, but at that moment he glanced in my direction, his gaze locking onto mine from across the court. I froze, instinctively holding my breath. There was a flicker of amusement in his dark eyes. And then, the crowd's cheers exploded. The screaming became so intense that some girls started pushing and shoving. Ah, Jayhawk looked at me. Shut up, he looked at me. Oh my god, he's too hot. Someone take a picture. I'm gonna post it on the confession wall. Zoe smirked at me. Luna, you've got a lot of competition. I pressed my lips together, my fingers brushing against my warm face. So many people liked him. I didn't respond, just focused on watching the game. Jace played aggressively, draining 3-pointers one after another. Each time he scored, the crowd erupted into deafening cheers. The game ended with a solid 30-17 victory. I watched as he bent over, hands on his knees, catching his breath. Just as I was about to walk over, a massive crowd of girls swarmed him. There was no way I was getting through that. I stood there awkwardly, still holding the water bottle in my hands. Jace wiped his sweat away, then looked up. Our eyes met again. His brows lifted slightly, as if surprised to see me still standing there. Even surrounded by so many people, the enthusiastic energy of the crowd didn't seem to affect him at all. I saw him let out a small sigh before saying, in the most indifferent tone, "You're blocking my way. Move." And miraculously, the crowd parted. Is this the power of being a school delinquent? I stood frozen as he casually walked toward me, stepping through the gap like he had all the time in the world. He stopped in front of me and, without a word, snatched the water bottle from my hands. Twisting the cap off, he took a long drink. I watched, absolutely mesmerized, as a drop of water trailed from the corner of his lips, down his throat, disappearing past the collar of his oversized jersey. Damn. He drank a few more gulps before handing the bottle back to me. Our eyes met, and this time, there was a teasing glint in his. "What's up with that?" he said lazily. "Didn't you say you'd bring me water? Why did I have to come get it myself?" Flustered, I muttered. There were too many people, I couldn't get through." He stared at me for a long second. Then, he laughed. Not a smirk. Not a scoff. A real, genuine, soft laugh. And before I could process it, he reached out and ruffled my hair. "Damn," he chuckled. "You really are way too cute." Zoe and I wandered back to the classroom, but she was way too excited, rambling about how my CP with Jace was absolutely worth shipping. Apparently, the school's confession wall was blowing up with people gushing over us. "Luna. Luna." Zoe suddenly shouted in my ear. I snapped out of my daze. "Huh? What's up, Zoe?" She pouted. "Were you even listening to me?" I sighed. "Not really. I was just thinking about how I can actually get Jace. He seems so hard to chase and I have no experience." Zoe's eyes gleamed as she leaned in. "This is easy. Step 1. Find opportunities to be alone with him as much as possible. Step 2. Guys like girls who are sweet and caring. You should start bringing him things like homemade snacks to show your sincerity. Step 3. Don't be too obvious. If you confess after 2 days, he'll think you're shallow. The more difficult you are to get, the more he'll want you." I blinked. "Zoe, why do you sound so experienced?" She scoffed. "Obviously. I have dated twice, you know." I deadpanned. "With the way you're talking, I thought you'd seduce dozens of men." Zoe gasped dramatically. "Well, it's still better than you, little Miss Zero Experience." I shut up. After a while I frowned. "But I don't know how to cook." Zoe sighed like a wise mentor. "Luna, that's something you can learn. Imagine how touched Jayhawk will be when he finds out you started cooking just for him. I suddenly felt enlightened. Zoe, you're making so much sense. I get it now. I'm going to work hard. Zoe patted my shoulder with the seriousness of a general sending a soldier to war. Do your best. I'm counting on your success. Seeing her so confident in me, I suddenly felt the need to reassure her. It's fine even if I don't succeed, Zoe. You don't have to be that invested. Zoe's eyes lit up with urgency. Of course it's not fine. I bet on you, Luna. I blinked. What? We made a bet on whether you or Vivian would get Jayhawk first. I put 50 on you. If you actually pull this off, I'll make a killing. Of course she did. I sighed, then realized something. Wait, who the hell is Vivian? Oh, she's the class beauty from 3rd period. She's been very high-key about chasing Jayhawk lately. You'd know if you weren't so oblivious to school gossip. A frown tugged at my lips. So she's really pretty? Did she already confess to him? Zoe shook her head. Nope. And Jayhawk hasn't given her any response. It's mostly just her group of friends hyping her up. I see. I murmured, suddenly feeling just a little more competitive. After school, I walked absent-mindedly to the alley, deep in thought. Jace was already there, leaning against the wall. Today he was alone. As I passed by, I could feel his gaze land on me. Calm, indifferent, but definitely there. I walked a few steps ahead before hesitating, then turned around and walked back to him. Do you have anything going on with Vivian? My voice was barely above a whisper. Jace frowned. Who? Vivian. The class beauty from 3rd period. I cleared my throat, making my voice a little louder. Never heard of her. Don't know her. He looked completely indifferent. I blinked in surprise and let out a quiet, oh. I heard she's been trying to chase after you lately. Jace let out an amused scoff. Plenty of girls chase after me. She's just another name on the list. Right, that's more like it. This is the kind of attitude a school tyrant should have. Why are you asking? He tilted his head slightly, eyes locking onto mine with a hint of curiosity. I froze, suddenly at a loss for words. In a panic, Zoe's words about creating more opportunities to be alone with him popped into my head. And just like that, my dumbass mouth blurted out. Shilly, I wanted to ask you to tutor me, but I figured if you had a girlfriend, she might not be happy about it. The moment the words left my lips, I instantly regretted them. What kind of garbage excuse was that? Jace raised an eyebrow, his lips curving into something that was dangerously close to a smirk. Tutoring. I had no choice but to commit. I nodded miserably. He let out a short laugh. All right. When? Saturday. 3 p.m. The library near school. I blurted, picking the usual spot where Zoe and I hung out. Fine. Now go home, it's already dark. He leaned back against the wall again, lazy and relaxed. But for a second I swore I saw something in his eyes. Something almost fond. When I got home, I threw myself onto the couch and immediately grabbed my phone to update Zoe on the latest developments. You there? I just ran into Jayhawk and asked him about Vivian. You're so direct. What did he say? He said he doesn't know her. And you believed him just like that? Well, yeah. Ugh, Luna. You're such a rookie when it comes to this. I could practically feel Zoe's frustration through the screen. Then I remembered what you said about creating alone time, so I took the initiative. What did you do? Feeling a little guilty, I hesitated before typing out. I asked him to tutor me at the library. For a second, Zoe didn't respond. Then my phone exploded with notifications. He was calling me. I flinched at the sudden vibrations, my hand trembling as I answered. Zoe. Luna, I don't even know what to say. You love studying this much? Tutoring? Seriously? She paused for 2 seconds, then sighed dramatically. Okay, fine. I guess tutoring still counts as alone time. Listen, here's what you do. Pretend you don't understand the problems, get closer to him while he explains, and subtly show off your charm. That actually works? I asked hesitantly. Trust me, it always works. Zoe sounded way too confident. Why do I feel like I shouldn't trust her on this? Alright, fine. I'll give it a shot. Saturday. I stood outside the library, clutching my bag filled with study materials. My nerves were through the roof. I was also wearing a bright yellow dress. Zoe picked it out, claiming it made me look sweet and innocent and that Jayhawk would definitely like that kind of thing. Before I could second-guess my life choices, I spotted Jace in the distance, effortlessly standing out in the crowd. Okay, maybe it's because he's good-looking. As he walked over, he flashed a rare smile. You're early. I nervously clenched my bag. Amichum. Since it was already late in the afternoon, we quickly found a quiet corner to sit. I watched as he methodically pulled out his study materials, completely focused. Meanwhile, I hesitated, fingers tightening around my bag of homemade snacks. Taking a deep breath, I placed my books on the table and casually slid the container toward him. Jayhawk, want some? I brought snacks. He raised an eyebrow. You made these? I swallowed hard. Yeah, they should taste pretty good. Jace picked up a piece and took a bite, chewing thoughtfully before glancing at me. It's good. Did it take you long? I exhaled, relieved. Haha, not too long. More like all morning with multiple failed attempts. But he doesn't need to know that. Alright, let's start. His demeanor instantly shifted as he scooted closer. Suddenly all business. I stiffened. Crap, he's sitting right next to me. Trying to focus, I pulled out a few problems I had trouble with and handed them over. Jace examined the questions carefully, then started scribbling down notes, completely absorbed. At that moment, he looked like a straight-up academic weapon. He handed the paper back to me. Check these out first. If anything doesn't make sense, ask me. I blinked. Why is Jace being so nice today? Is he always this patient when he tutors? And why does he keep smiling at me? Shaking off my thoughts, I focused on the notes, only to quickly furrow my brows in confusion. I nudged him with my finger. Wait, this part and this one too. I don't get it. Jace took the paper, glanced over it, then turned toward me and leaned in. Way too close. My brain short-circuited. His ridiculously handsome side profile was right there. If I moved even a little, my heart slammed against my chest. He finished explaining, then turned his head to face me. Got it. Does he not realize how close we are right now? My survival instincts kicked in. I sprang to my feet, face burning. Yeah, I totally get it. Wow, it's kinda hot in here, huh? I'm gonna grab some water. Do you want anything? Jace stood up as well, looking completely unbothered. I'll come with you. Then, as if it was the most natural thing in the world, he casually ruffled my hair. I froze. On the way back, I was so nervous I nearly tripped over my own feet. Desperate to break the awkwardness, I cleared my throat and said, Jayhawk, you seem kinda different today? Do I? He glanced at me, unfazed. What's different? I hesitated before blurting out. You just seem really gentle today? Jace tilted his head, considering my words. Is that so? I've always been like this. You'll see once you get to know me better. Who would believe that? I literally saw him brawling a few weeks ago. I let out an awkward laugh. Haha, is that so? Could have fooled me. To my surprise, he sighed and suddenly looked serious. Luna, ever since you told me not to fight, I haven't gotten into a single fight. I blinked. Wait, then your reign as school bully? Jace shrugged, then smirked. Retiring from being the school tyrant isn't a big deal. If I get bored, I can always just take the school heartthrob title instead. And if that doesn't work out, well, guess I'll settle for being a straight-A student. Whoa, dream big, huh? But for some reason my heart warmed a little. Is he actually changing for me? Flustered, I coughed and reached for a bottle of cold water. Just as I was about to pay, a familiar dread settled in my stomach. Oh no, not now, please not now. My expression must have looked painful because Jace shot me a confused look. Ignoring him, I stiffly put the water bottle back, walked straight to the hygiene aisle and grabbed a pack of pads. After paying, I turned to Jace, holding up the small black bag. I need to use the restroom. His expression went rigid. His ears were turning red. Oh, okay. He cleared his throat and nodded, avoiding eye contact. Great. As if I wasn't embarrassed enough. Honestly, my period had always been unpredictable. Thankfully, I never had cramps, but really? Of all times, it had to show up now. After I returned, we wandered around for a bit more before the heat got to me again. Ugh, I need something cold, I muttered, reaching for another water bottle. Before I could grab one, Jace's hand shot out, stopping me. His face was still suspiciously red. You're on your period, right? His voice was low. I blinked at him before smiling reassuringly. Yeah, but don't worry. I've never had cramps. Jace didn't budge. Still no. It's bad for your body. I whined. But it's so hot. Please, just one sip. I swear it's fine. The moment the words left my mouth, I froze. Did I just whine? Jace visibly stiffened. His ears burned red as he pointedly looked away, clearing his throat again. Stop acting cute. It won't work. Yet in the next second he turned around and bought an ice cream. Without saying a word, he scooped out a tiny spoonful and held it up to my mouth. I stared at the microscopic amount. That's it? You trying to starve me? But I still ate it. Just as I opened my mouth to ask for more, Jace suddenly started eating the ice cream himself, at lightning speed. One bite, then another, then another. Before I could even blink, the ice cream was gone. I deadpanned. You afraid I was gonna rob you or something? Jace's face twitched for a second. Then, in the most blatant lie I'd ever heard, he muttered, it wasn't even that cold. Jace and I had made zero progress. Yes, despite me chasing after him for 2 whole years, our relationship had remained strictly platonic. Not even a step forward. Meanwhile, my grades had skyrocketed. From an average student to mock exam top 50. Jayhawk, still effortlessly holding his spot in the top 5. In those 2 years, Vivian had confessed to him. And failed. Zoe had cackled like a madwoman, practically shaking me by the shoulders. Haha, I knew it. That girl never stood a chance. We're cashing in, Luna. Now hurry up and confess already. I slumped over the desk in despair. I had been trying, Zoe. I swear I've done everything. He just doesn't react. Zoe's face fell. Wait, so, you're telling me I'm not getting a single cent from this bet? I nodded solemnly, equally devastated. We thought the whole thing would blow over. But then, the night after our final exams, the ancient bet was suddenly revived, because some big shot had bet a whole $1,000 on me. The entire school was shook. People flooded the comments under the post, some saying they'd forgotten they even placed a bet. Others immediately started arguing over refunds. And then, at the post-exam graduation party, surrounded by drunk classmates, they pressured me into calling Jayhawk and confessing. Fueled by alcohol and pure chaos, I bravely dialed his number. The call barely rang once before his cool voice answered. Luna. I took a deep breath, and then shouted into the phone. Jayhawk, I like you. Be my boyfriend. The whole party erupted in laughter and gasps. From the phone there was a pause. Then his voice lowered. Where are you? Still intoxicated, I blurted out my location. And then the call ended. I sat there staring at my phone in confusion. The people around me started muttering. Well, guess I should be glad I didn't bet much. Damn, so neither of them won? Do we get our money back? Sucks for you. I bet on Vivian. I felt a strange tightness in my chest. Without thinking, I grabbed another bottle and chugged. Through my hazy vision, I suddenly spotted a familiar figure stepping into the party. Jace. My brain short-circuited. I launched myself at him, grabbed his shirt, and promptly started sobbing. Jayhawk, you're so hard to chase. I've been after you for 2 years. Why won't you react to anything I do? People around us stared. Some had their jaws on the floor. Jace looked pissed. Without a word, he grabbed me and dragged me out. I was too drunk to fight back. Sitting in the backseat of the taxi, still teary-eyed, I clung to his shirt like a koala. Jace let out a long exhale before tilting my face up to look at him. All right, Luna. His voice was low, dangerous. Explain this to me properly. How exactly have you been chasing me for 2 years? Tears welled up again. How is that even a question? I hiccuped. I made you so many snacks. I brought you breakfast so many times. And today, I just remembered I bet $100 on myself 2 years ago. Wah. That's right. I had completely forgotten that back when we were getting close, I had secretly bet on myself too. Now that $100 was gone. Vanished. Yeeted into the void. Jace's face immediately darkened. Without hesitation, he pinched my cheek. Quit crying. I'll get your money back tomorrow. I sniffled, ready to argue when my stomach lurched. Jace's eyes widened. Driver, pull over. I threw myself out of the taxi just in time to, empty the contents of my stomach into the nearest trash bin. After a long, painful moment, I slumped back into the taxi, exhausted. Then, I passed out cold. When I groggily sat up in my bed, my head throbbed painfully. Fragments of last night's drunken mess started piecing themselves together. And the more I remembered, the more I wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear. That disaster wasn't me. Nope. Absolutely not. Clutching my aching head, I stumbled downstairs, only to be greeted by my parents, sitting in the living room with knowing expressions. What was that look for? I swallowed, feeling a sense of impending doom. Mom, Dad. I started hesitantly. I didn't do anything weird when I got home last night, right? My parents exchanged a glance. Then they smirked. Nothing much, Dad said oh so casually, except for how you clung to that boy who carried you home. Wouldn't let go, just stuck to him like you were superglued to his arm. I have no face left to show society. Would it be too late to travel back in time and beat myself up? I fumbled for my phone, hoping to text Jace and explain why I had been a complete embarrassment. Then I saw it. A $500 transaction. Sent at exactly 5:20 a.m. Along with a single text. Our winnings. Splitting it with you. What kind of bizarre business transaction was this? Before I could even process, something even worse popped up in my notifications. Jace had made his first ever Facebook post. After years of silence. Caption. Tise. Can't help it. My girlfriend's too clingy. Attached below was a photo. Me. Sleeping like a dead log. Face buried into his arm. Holding onto him like a freaking koala. What the hell? I scrolled down. The comments were already flooding in. What did I do to deserve waking up to a fresh bowl of dog food first thing in the morning? Blessings to big bro Jace and our dear sis-in-law. Never thought the bet I placed 2 years ago would actually pay off. Jayhawk, you really took your time, huh? 2 whole years before confessing. Not gonna lie, I thought my money was a lost cause. Excuse me, what kind of random public announcement is this? Wait, Jace won the bet, then my $100 should be coming back too? As realization hit me, I looked back at the $500 transaction from earlier. It clicked. Jace was the big shot, who bet $1,000 a few days ago. This man, this absolute businessman. He literally seized every financial opportunity. I felt my soul ascend, but before I could fully process my emotions, Zoe called. Loud, excited, practically screaming into my ear. Luna Aya, congrats. You did it. I barely had time to react before she shrieked even louder. I got my $50 back. Best day ever. This girl was about to pass out from excitement over $50. Meanwhile, I was trying to survive the realization that my confession had turned into a viral announcement. Jace and I officially got together. On the third day since his Facebook post. Also, the third day of me desperately avoiding him. And yet, he still managed to corner me. Right at my front door. With that shameless confidence, he confessed to me outright. So aggressively it almost felt like a threat. Why had I never realized before how stupidly cute this guy could be? Just as I was about to yell at him, my mom pushed open the door. She took one look at the situation. Then she patted my shoulder. Meaningfully. Luna, this young man seems pretty nice. Mom supports you. Jace, this absolute idiot, lit up like a freaking sunflower. Thank you, Auntie. I promise I'll treat Luna well. I gasped in outrage. What the hell? I haven't even said yes yet. Jace, completely ignoring me, pulled out his phone. With one tap, he played back an audio recording. And then, my own heart-wrenching cries blasted out. Jayhawk, you're so freaking hard to chase. Wah. Good. Fantastic. Incredible. Expression stone cold, I grabbed his hand, pressing down on his phone firmly. Enough. I love you, okay? Just delete it. Let it go. Jace grinned so hard his eyes disappeared. Okay, Luna. And just like that, my heart skipped a damn beat. Seriously. How could this man be so perfectly my type? I need to file a complaint. This is unfair. Then he wrapped his arms around me, exhaling a long, satisfied sigh. Luna, I've held back for 2 years. But now, I can finally, openly have you. He paused. His voice deep and steady when he murmured, I like you. For a moment I froze. Then, I finally lifted my arms and hugged him back. Me too. I met the best boy at the best time of my life. And from that moment on, my path ahead was nothing but bright. With our hands intertwined, we'll walk forward together. Forever. Unwavering. Unbreakable.